What's going on, everybody? What is going on? Happy Thursday. Hold on one second. Yeah, man. Happy Thursday. Happy Thursday. What's going on? Give people a couple minutes to join. Yeah, man. Everybody's having a great day today. Like I said, happy Thursday, almost Friday. Have a good, almost Memorial Day weekend already. One of my favorite holidays. Everybody gets together and has a good time. So I can't wait. But, yeah, man. So today, uh, you know, there's been a lot going on recently the last couple of days. I'm sure everybody's seen, and this topic today is something I've been thinking about for a while. A lot of these things I've been thinking about for a while, but I've just seen over time in society. And so today, I said, why not a better time than right now? Talk about the topic of, you know, focusing on the root cause of things rather than the symptoms. And so that'll be my topic today. I want to have a wide discussion on this, or a broad point of view on this because I think this can go not just in terms of anxiety, but in a lot of things in life. And so, uh, yeah, that's gonna be my topic for today. I think it's a very important discussion. I will drop the link in the chat if anyone wants to come up and join, because I think a lot of what we're seeing nowadays with anxiety and just in society in general, everybody's so focused on the symptoms and everybody's so focused on the outside but not focused on the inside, what's really causing these things. And so um, that'd be my discussion for today. I think like I said, I think it's very important because you know somebody is, and speaking for myself, who's been there with anxiety and had my challenges. uh, I think a lot of what I see, um, from people that reach out to me or people I see online or just in general, a lot of people I see, a lot of their problems you could date back to when they were a child, growing up in whatever home they grew up in, from if they had authority figures, either mom and dad or something, maybe had one parent or whatever. And a lot of it stems there. And I think a lot of these problems you see tends to go, the anxiety guy, who I'm going to have another video here today, a short 5-minute clip from a video of his to really dive deep into this topic. He really talks about, uh, you know, in this video I'm going to share, it really talks about where it really stems from. And what he talks about a lot is, sorry, I lost my train of thought there. Okay. Uh, what he really talks about a lot is, something I've learned will help me is usually from the ages of 0 to 7, for the most part, not always, but usually right around that age group of from 0 to 7. Uh, that's usually when a lot of trauma gets stored, or something gets stored in your body that causes something. Um, it's not really the memory itself; it's more the interpretation experience. When you're that young, and I've realized this recently. There's a lot of things that happened to me when I was that young that you know really caused a lot of the things that I when I got older. And I'm still figuring some of those things out now. But when you're 5, 6, 7 years old or even younger, you don't know how to interpret those things. You don't know how to deal with the things you think they're normal. And it could be a trauma, it could be any experience. I mean, it could be anything from something as maybe you were in a car wreck or when you were a kid, or saw something happen to somebody you look up to, or it could be something as small as somebody yelling at you or taking something away from you. It could be trauma, could be a variety of things. Especially when you're a child, you don't know how to interpret things like that, and so, but it gets stored in your body, and as you get older, a lot of times these things, when you get maybe in similar situations, or when you uh, just start to grow more as you get older, a lot of these things start to reoccur, and a lot of times they show up as sensations in the symptoms. But a lot of times the symptoms is it's not don't focus on the symptom itself. That's just a message. The symptom is just a message, right? It's a message of a deeper cause, something rooted deep inside of you that you need to handle, either from your past or whatever. And so, And I think, we talk about anxiety on this channel. I think a lot of anxiety starts from that. But I think a lot of what we see in society nowadays starts from that. And nobody's really willing to have a real discussion about it. Everybody's, you know, whatever social media, whatever the new trend is, whatever, you know, the mainstream media, corporate media tells you to think, that's everybody's first response. They're right. There's no lie here. That's that. We need to just move forward and focus on symptom and focus on the outside. But nobody ever really has a real conversation about the inside, about mental health, about what really causes these things, what causes. We had a terrible tragedy the other day. Something uh, in that person caused him a long time ago to build up to that point to do that. And so, for me, I look at it as what's really causing these things. We can look at, mechanisms, or we can look at, uh, you know, material things. But I kind of look at, well, we need to look at something. Let's get real deep into the real root cause of it. And, I think a lot of what you're seeing nowadays as well is, you're seeing the results just being 100% real of a country that has turned their back on God. Uh, this is the result you get. When you remove God from society, you allow evil to run rampant around the streets, and it will do whatever and use whatever to make things kind of living hell. And so, it will do whatever it needs to do to cause destruction. And so I think this is a huge result of this. I think a lot of the response in the last 48 hours since that tragedy, uh, and prayers to all the victims, and it's horrible what happened in Texas, but um, I think it's unfortunate some of the response to this online. I think it's been politicized. It's been there's people uh, openly turning their back on God. And what I mean by that is, I see people saying prayers don't work. I'm thinking, yeah, I keep believing that, and the problem's going to get worse. Okay, the root. Let me stop. I get what some people are saying in terms of we need more action, but when you leave God out of the equation, I don't care what action you do, you're never going to get anywhere. You're not going to you're not fixing any problems. And a lot of these people, they're just saying talking points that these people that are put out in the mainstream media or put out on the social media and celebrate. Everybody goes claps and, oh, that's so wonderful. And these people are just doing an agenda. These people aren't saying anything real. These people aren't getting to the real cause of this. They're just out there putting on I mean, some of these reactions too are, I mean, they look so scripted and so staged and so theater. It's unbelievable. We had people going publicly and saying and giving this whole little soliloquy, and and turning it political, and they're doing all this before we even knew any of the victims' names. That's a problem. That's a real problem. And so, again, people saying prayer don't work. I think, well, you really just got to tell them what the real problem is. Really, there's no God. I mean, somebody that would come online, 100% real. Somebody that would go online or say publicly or privately that, gee, prayer is not working. You're, to me, that kind of comes across as, well, I don't think we don't need God, right? Is that what you're saying? I mean, I'm just asking. And if somebody wants to go up and challenge this, be my guest. Is that what we're saying? That we don't need God? That, um, we feel like we can take matters, we can handle it, we can figure this all out on ourselves. And I think this is a bigger issue of human pride. I think human pride has become the enemy of our society. Human pride has become the enemy to ourselves. Our own pride gets in our way. And so, uh, I think, like I said, I think a lot of the response is just pathetic. I think it's just pathetic. That's what it is. It's sick. And I think that a lot of people continue to fall for this nonsense. We're not going to get different results. And so that's why I did my show, this playing the show today, because I'm a little fired up today about this, because I feel like there's people that are trying that uh, are discussing about mental health that really have no experience for mental health. It's almost like they're coaching a football game from outer space. You know what I mean? And so that's like me uh, going to a musician or a singer and telling her how to sing. I don't know how to sing. Okay. So I wouldn't tell somebody how to sing. And we don't have enough real conversations from, but also not just real conversations, but also people who are qualified, I think, or have experienced these things to really give a real insight that could really relate to people. Uh, why we don't have more of that mainstream with social media, I leave that up to you guys to figure that out why. But that's why I'm here. That's why I'm doing this. That's why people like Dennis, the anxiety guy, are doing this. That's why there's so many other people uh, are doing this, because we want people out there like where we were, like us, to know that are people that are just searching to know that, hey, uh, you know, we've been there. We know, we understand how you feel. We understand what you're feeling on the inside. Here's the proper way to respond to these things and get to the root cause of things, rather than trying to suppress everything, trying to, you know, suck it up and bunker it all and hide everything inside of you, which in turn makes things worse for yourself. But because that's really what we're taught in society nowadays. We're told just to suppress everything, suck it up, be a man. You don't talk and do what you're told, and that is a horrible strategy to help people. And so, I've also, maybe I think there's other cultures, I think, that are a little more advanced than us than that. And maybe that's where a lot of the problem lies when you look in terms of our country, maybe compared to other countries. I think we're the greatest country there is because we're the most free. But when you have so much freedom, there is a price to pay. And so I think that, uh, we need to have more qualified people, more people who have experienced things to have these discussions about these things, not just script reading, uh, you know, people reading up the scripts, or, yeah, I mean, you guys know what I'm saying. I'm just kind of some of these people, man, that I've seen in the last 48 hours have really pissed me off, because it's just so uninformed. It's so misleading. It's so uh, just brainwashing, is what it is, to be completely honest. And so, uh, yeah, it's just pretty sick. But we need more people who are qualified to have these discussions. I think who's leading the discussions are important, and I could say that from my own experience. Uh, I had great doctors, but the doctors I had, I when I first got diagnosed with anxiety and started having these problems back in 2015, when I was 15, 16 years old, nobody really knew what to do. And a lot of times, the first line of treatment that a lot of people think of is, okay, let's go to the doctors, or let's go to book therapy, or, and I'm not bashing these things. I think these things have a time and place, but that only goes so far. And a lot of times, a lot of these people don't, that have these jobs, that yes, they've learned, they educated themselves on it, but I think experience is the best teacher. And so, when I found Dennis, the anxiety guy, like I said in one of my multiple videos, the first video I listened to, I couldn't believe what I was hearing, because it was finally somebody that understood where I was, and what I was feeling, and just how it started, and just everything. It was like I finally found somebody related to where I was. And so I think that's important. And so when we have these kind of discussions now with everything going on, we need to make sure we have people like that know what they're talking about, leading these things. Because then ultimately that's how you get real change. You get real action, you get real uh, progress and results. Because, you know, I think a lot of that too is people don't trust what they hear anymore. And I understand why. And so we don't have trust or confidence there in what you're listening to. You're never really going to do anything about it. You're never really going to apply the things that you need. that can help you. You're never gonna do anything because you're not really told how to. You don't have that trust or belief in anybody. And so, especially with anxiety, hopefully I can be there for you guys or Dennis or whoever. I don't care who, as long as you get the help you need to and the guidance to help you start your journey of healing and living the life you deserve to live. And uh, so that's my topic for today. I opened it up pretty well, I think, and kind of what I want to talk about. And so I'm gonna play this quick video real quick. I'm gonna start it halfway during this video. If you want to check out the full video, just go to Dennis's channel. Let me pull it up here. Anxiety sensations or symptoms. What's the difference? Root causes of anxiety disorders. Now, again, he's going to be talking a lot. He's talking about, anxiety here. So I'm going to discuss that as well. I'll pause at certain points. I'm going to start at the 9-minute mark where he starts talking about symptoms and what really could be the root cause of those. And then I also might use this as an example to kind of a broader discussion of kind of things I've already hit on. And so, yeah, let's get into it. Hold on one second. And again, this is fair use, but Dennis told me it's fine if I use his video. So I appreciate him. And go subscribe to his channel if you aren't already. It's probably the best channel you be subscribed to right now was his channel. So, but without further ado, let's get to the video.
Feelings that come out of the blue. What about anxiety symptoms? Well, when we're talking about symptoms, I'm talking about feelings in the body, right, that just don't seem to go away, right? They're always there in the background. You wake up in the morning, right? You stretch yourself out, and then you go, ah, it's still there. And then all of a sudden, your posture changes, and all of a sudden, you rush through things and you try to distract yourself from the symptom, right? And you take out this negative energy out on others, right? I've been in that place. So these symptoms are there all the time, they linger. Symptoms to start off, if you're experiencing them, comment below, are undischarged emotions that have compounded over time. Undischarged emotions that have compounded over time. So you've experienced emotions, but you haven't had an outlet in terms of getting them out of your system. So you feel anger, and in this society, we're taught to suppress, suppress, suppress. Don't
Yeah, and there you go. He just said it. What I was saying. In this society, we're taught to suppress, suppress, suppress. And I feel like that's a reason why we have so many problems because you see why, uh, my gosh, we just, somebody 18 years old just committed a horrible crime that took the lives of innocent people. What really caused that person to get to that point to really think that way, to want to harm other innocent people like that? And I wonder, sometimes I just wonder, and I think it's, like I said, this is something we need to talk about is what's really causing these things? What's causing people to, really go haywire? I think a lot of people say, well, it's just mental illness. And yes, there are people that are born maybe with mental disabilities that, you know, in turn, cause them to maybe have different uh, functions than everybody else. But I think a lot of this starts when, like, again, from those younger years, were they bullied or these people picked on? Did they have maybe some disabilities that people picked on them about? Did they feel isolated? Did their parents leave them at home a lot? Did they come from a broken home? So, what is really causing a lot of these things? And in turn, we're told to suppress these things and never get help, never express ourselves. And over time, when you start to suppress things like that more and more and more, it builds. And a lot of times it turns into anger and rage. And maybe that's why you see a lot of the acts we see nowadays from young kids, uh, you know, or even any age. But it builds as over time as you get older and older and older. So again, what's really causing these things? Well, like I've been saying, or I just said, it could be a numerous of things when you're a child. It's the trauma so a child goes through that they don't know how to. A child doesn't know how to comprehend things, and so and I think a lot of this, guys, from what I see, is just lack of parenting, lack of just keeping it real, lack of parenting, lack of guidance. Maybe they didn't have a spiritual church connection growing up. Maybe it was non-spiritual household. Maybe I had a lot of access to at too young of an age to internet and video games and things of that nature that could really mess with a mind that's not really developed and doesn't really know how to interpret a lot of things. And so, again, these are just facts. These are common sense things. And so, uh, I don't care what if everyone wants to look the politicians. I don't care what side you're on. I don't really care. I'm not a left or a right. I just want people who are real and honest and are really about doing the work and aren't just out here trying to uh, have a bigger agenda. And so, you know keep the politics, setting the politics aside, setting the mainstream what society says aside, because none of that stuff really matters. What's focused on what matters is what you can do. And so maybe look in your own life and maybe look at when we look at some of these problems in society, what's really causing them. Okay, well, we need to look at let's start in the home. Let's start when they're a child. Okay. And so let's get back to the video.
Show your anger. Don't show your fear. Don't show your frustration. Don't show your panic. Don't show anything. Well, where does the energy go? Where do the emotions get stored over time? They get stored in the largest container that you have, which is your body. That's why your subconscious mind is your body. What a connection. So, if these emotions have no place to go, they're going to show up in your body and they're going to show up as anxiety symptoms that continue to linger. Anxiety symptoms are unexpressed ideas, right? I've recognized this myself because I used to be in social gatherings and people would say things and I would get smaller and smaller and smaller in my chair, right? Making sure that I don't share my own ideas because someone might laugh at me or I might say the wrong thing, right? And so the threat of that kept my ideas to myself.
Now that is a huge key there because I feel like this is a lot of people, not just a kid. I mean, I see this nowadays with adults and people my age. It's almost like a fear, but it's a fear from pressure. And that pressure makes you crumble, not really, you just kind of cave into what everybody else does. You're really just part of, like Kwame Brown says, the go along, get along gang. You're just going along to get along, but you're not really being who you truly want to be. You don't, you know, you're believing and acting and saying things you really truly don't believe in, are wrong. And so, but it's all starts with a fear based on, I think, pressure. I think the pressures of the world, you know, again, another societal thing. We talked about suppression, how society tells us to suppress. I think society also puts a lot of pressure on kids at a really young age and almost too much pressure. You have to do X, Y, and Z to be successful. If you're not doing this, you're a bum, you're lazy, you're no good. And to me, that's just a shitty strategy to tell people because what kind of, how are you really setting people up for success if you're just telling them, figure it out? Well, yeah, I think as a child grows older, they need to figure out how to live on their own. Yeah, so they can think for themselves. Uh, but it even says in the Bible, raise a kid. I'm paraphrasing because I can't remember the verse off the top of my head, guys. I apologize, but it talks about in the Bible raising a kid early and setting up for life. So as they get older, they remember a lot of the teachings you taught them. The seeds are planted inside of them, and so uh, to me, like I said, it starts at home. But you know, as people get older, they're feeling the pressures of the world. I think, like I said, I think a lot of that from. And I've been on a couple panels the last couple days talking about a lot of these other issues going on. that are big hot topics right now. And so, I think what I hear from a lot of people is, just the pressure from the world. And I've been there. And so, you feel that pressure and you start to cave in. A lot of times people will abandon even their own Christian beliefs, their relationship with God. They'll abandon that for just to go along to get along. And I think a lot of times when that happens, you can really start to funnel into some bad things. Excuse me, you can get involved in some bad things, and in turn, you allow the enemy to really play with your mind and can almost control people in some instances, unfortunately, and they're gone. And so, uh, you know, so I hear a lot of people that feel like they have demons on the inside of them because there's nothing on the inside that they can fight with anymore. They've kind of turned their back completely against God. And so, I think having that's a really scary place for somebody to be, is to have a hardened conscience where you're so angry, so full of guilt or whatever, your rage, that you allow it to control you, that you almost don't have a conscience anymore. You're so desensitized from the world that uh, you allow the fear and the pressure to just overtake you, and you just cave in and do whatever everybody else wants you to do. And so, I think that's a very key point there that he brought up.
Until I wrote my first book. And when I wrote that book, I let everything out. And when I let everything out, I began to share my ideas with people, my creativeness, even if it was an idea that I didn't spend too much time thinking about, I let it out. And I found that my physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual health all got better. So share your ideas, or they'll turn into anxiety symptoms. Unforgiveness is another sign of anxiety symptoms. Have you really forgiven yourself for some of the mistakes that you've made in the past? Mistakes. How could you possibly blame yourself for things that you did as a child? You had no capability to think.
Bingo. And again, remember that, guys. That's why, don't be so hard on yourself. A lot of these things, it's okay. It's not, maybe it wasn't your fault at a young age, but now you're old enough to have awareness now, recognize these things that are going on. Now it's up to you to do something about it. And, don't let anybody else tell you otherwise. You have to live with this the rest of your life, whatever it is, anxiety or whatever's bothering you. You don't have to live with these things. You don't have to carry this around the rest of your life. You can truly be who you want to be. And so, and again, I think this is something important that, you know, this is why I think parenting is so important at such a young age, especially when kids get into middle school, high school, and they're starting to grow. Their bodies are changing, and that's really the time to really be there. I mean, you never really stop helping each other. You never stop parenting, even as they get older. And I'm not a parent, but I don't, it's again, I see a lot of these things. What causes a lot of people to have these anxiety symptoms and just disorders and everything. And I think a lot of it's just a lack of love. It's a lack of love, and which in turn lack of trust, lack of guidance, lack of a lot of things. And so, you know, be there for your child and guide them, and but also don't, you know, I think a big key too. I think sometimes as parents try to, or authority figures or teacher, whoever it is, they try to, they they almost think because they haven't really solved the things in their own lives in their own past, and in turn they kind of think it's normal, the traumas they went through in their life. And this is kind of goes back to the generational anxiety I talked about, and just passing things down. They never really in turn solved their problems, so they just did to their kids what their parents did to them. And I think that causes a lot of problems. You should never, if that something your parents did when you were younger made you feel some type of way, don't do that to your kids, because why do you think it's going to make them feel? But I think sometimes people aren't even aware of it. They're just not aware of it. And so, again, awareness is key, but I also not suppressing, not No more limited fear that you have to be a certain person for everybody. Just be your true self. You can be who you want to be.
You had no capability to respond to your parents or your other authority figures. Give yourself a break, for goodness sake. Forgive yourself. And the way we forgive ourselves isn't through logic or thinking. The way we forgive ourselves is through reframing processes that get us crying a little bit, get us yawning, get us sweating, getting this emotion and this energy out so that we can truly, in our hearts, forgive ourselves. Remember, there's a big difference between forgiving in your head and forgiving in your heart. Know this.
And that's another big key there. I think, don't beat yourself up, guys. Don't, if you, I think a lot of times guilt plays a big part in people, going down a spiral path of anxiety and just, panic. I think, again, getting to the root cause of things, like you said, don't beat yourself up. Don't, uh, I think a lot of times people self punish themselves, which is unfortunate. And that doesn't mean physically either. That could be even mentally. You don't allow yourself to grow. You allow yourself to keep going back into the same habits that keep you in the cycle of fear and just the pressure and everything. But allow yourself to just be and forgive yourself. And just like what helps me, and I actually have a wristband on right now that says I wear this every day. It says, "Be still and know that I am God." Psalm 46:10. And I've ever listened to Tony Evans a couple times. He talks about forgiveness and maybe repentance to God, which is the most important thing. Is you know, God says, stand firm, take it to Him, pray to Him. He will guide you. Stand firm. You can't you we can't figure everything else. Ugh, excuse me. We can't solve everything on our own, guys. Like you said, we can't intellectually just solve our way to everything. We're human beings. We're flawed. There's only so much we can handle. And, that's why support is so important. That's why having the right people around you and you listen to every day are so important. The right guidance is so important. But also the most important thing is your relationship with God, and He will guide you. And so, don't beat yourself up, guys. Don't think, oh, I'm not good enough. Am I not doing this right? It takes time. It takes time. Everything takes time. Have patience. Pray to God. Take it to God, and find the right people. Maybe like Dennis. Go to his channel. If you're going through anxiety, go to his channel. He has programs. You can ask me questions. There's people out there that will help you, and step by step, will slowly get there to where you want to be. And so don't beat yourself up. It takes time.
The difference and do the right thing. Finally, unresolved childhood traumas. Unresolved childhood traumas. I can't tell you how many people come to me and say, Dennis, I've never had a childhood trauma. And then they start meditating. And then they start doing things for themselves. They start doing the altered state work, right? And then they go, my God, I never realized this happened to me at 6 or happened to me at 9 or happened to me at 12. Yeah, because as you continue to give back to yourself, what starts to happen is there's more information from the past that begins showing up. What do people do when that happens? They get afraid. They say, what I'm doing is not working. It is working because the more you recognize the roots of your fears, the more opportunity you have to reframe them, to move forward in time, to get.
I mean, to cut him off there, but that's exactly what I was just saying. You know, when you get in that cold lick of water, it's gonna feel uncomfortable. It's gonna feel it's new. It's different. You're going down a path, and you're thinking differently than you always have. You're challenging those old beliefs, but you got to remember those old beliefs and habits you had. They're not real. They're inauthentic. They're not your true self. And so now you're really challenging that. You're becoming who you want to be, any type of change, any type of new identity, anything new you do, it's always going to feel uncomfortable in anything in life. And so, but being aware of that, expecting yes, you might have setbacks. You're going to have some days that are good, some days that are bad. But it's just staying, you know, neutral. Staying neutral. Go, like I talked about in the past, staying neutral gets you to a place of pleasantness. A lot of people try to go from bad to pleasant, and that's very hard to do. It's get to a place of bad to a neutral place, a middle ground, to a more that'll lead you to a more pleasant place. And just you get in that cold lake of water per se. You know, it's gonna feel uncomfortable. It's really cold, but focus on your breathing. Right? If anybody studies Wim Hof with the cold water, which I do every day, like let's say a cold shower. You go from nice, comfortable, warm, and you turn it all the way cold, or cold as you can handle. It's gonna feel really uncomfortable, but a lot of times your body goes into a fight or flight, and you want to, okay, get out of here, right? But stay there, focus on your breathing. 3 seconds in, 3 seconds out. Then you go deeper, add more seconds to the inhale and the exhale. Now you're pausing in the middle. And then before you know it, your body gets comfortable and adapts to that cold lake of water. And that's an example of anything in life, anything new. When you do something new, whether it's, like I said, all the examples of maybe you're challenging your old beliefs, it's going to feel uncomfortable, but stay there, stay in that, have that trust, that patience, and just know it takes time. Like I keep saying, it takes time, but you're doing it the right way, which is, it sometimes seems the harder way. You're handling your root causes. You're getting to the root of your problems. You're facing these things head on. You're not doing what a lot of people do, which is just suppress and not handle these things. It could turn, they don't really have happy lives.
That repressed and suppressed emotion out of you. So when something shows up and it's related to the root cause of your fears and anxieties, move directly towards it and say, "Thank you for this information. Now I can do something about it. I no longer have to carry this around because I am more than anxiety." How do we deal with sensations? Responding. How do we deal with symptoms? Altered state work. You can't heal your anxiety completely without altered state work. Remember that. Reframing. And so, while you're dealing with either, make sure, warrior, that you're receiving the wisdom that you need. Because I can provide you with the knowledge you need, but only you can provide yourself with the wisdom that you need, the insights and the clarity that come out of nowhere, right? It's a beautiful thing when you gain the knowledge and the wisdom. My goodness. Then we stop talking about our anxiety so much. So, color meditation, mantra meditation, and emptiness meditation. These three forms of meditation you can look up. You can look up on my YouTube channel if you'd like and learn more about. This is how we gain the wisdom. Grounding. Take your shoes off, take your socks off, get in the grass, get on the sand, whatever it is, but connect with the earth. Even if you feel like you're doing very little for yourself, consciously, your system appreciates what you're doing for it. And finally, conscious breathing practices. We want to get to a place where we consciously breathe the right way with depth rather than succumb to the unconscious breathing patterns that are connected to fear and the fight or flight system. Warriors, I want you right here, right now, to comment below and converse with me and all the other warriors here.
And so, another great video by Dennis. But again, a lot of what I talked about already today is, I use this video as an example. We talk about the root cause of anxiety. We talk about, let me paraphrase. I used anxiety as an example of the root cause of things. That's the theme of today, right? Talking about the root cause. Because, like I said, a lot of what we've seen in the last 48 hours, when we have an unfortunate incident, a lot of people aren't focusing on what's really causing these things to happen. And again, I'm looking at what's causing people to have that rage when they get older, or have that anger, or, start falling into certain lifestyles that maybe they don't want to live in. And so, uh, we need to focus on the root cause of all these things rather than just the symptoms and trying to focus on the outer things. Another example I would use is, if I punch somebody in the face with my fist, it's not my fist that did it. It's my brain that did it. It started in my head. Something made me punch that person in the face, right? It starts on the inside. And so the link is in the chat if anyone wants to come up here and join. Let me get back on camera here. And so that was my conversation for today, or my topic rather, and I point out a lot of points here, and took this thing to a kind of broader angle. And so, but like I said, it kind of pissed me off. Just the last 2 days to me was really just a big reminder of just how the lack of awareness and just education we have on mental health in this country. We don't have people that have experienced these things leading these conversations, and in turn helping people, especially on these public media platforms, on social media, or on these mainstream channels. None of these mainstream shows are bringing people on that have been there. They're not bringing people on like dentists that really know how to help people and heal people to a root cause. They just come there, give you a bunch of talking points, and everybody takes those talking points and just believes it. And there turns there's a lot of brainwashing going on, as point blank. And so, and yeah, I've had enough of watching that stuff. That's why I don't look at it, because it just pisses me off. And so, hold on one second. What's up, bro?
Hey, brother.
How you doing?
I'm doing a lot better. I'm finally getting over the vid. So.
Oh man, you feeling better though?
Oh, so much better. So much
That's
better.
good.
I still can't taste anything, which is really upsetting. But
yeah, I had that. Gosh, was it December of 2020? And I lost my smell and taste for about a day or two.
Oh, I'm going on like day 3, but it's weird because like my fever broke. I was actually feeling better. Like I didn't really have a cough the entire time, but only now, like after having it for like 5-6 days, then I lose my taste and everything. And then I start coughing a little bit. I'm like, what the hell? Like I don't even have a fever anymore. I feel better. Like why?
Well, I'm glad you're feeling better though. You look pretty good though. You look fine. So,
letting the hair grow out.
Yeah, why not? The hell with it at this point. But anyway, so you heard kind of the end there of
a little bit,
ranting about, and so I guess kind of what I'm talking about is we've seen what happened the other day. Obviously, the unfortunate incident, and it was tragic, and made me really think about something I've been thinking about for a while. I think is, I use anxiety as an example today. We kind of in our society, we're told to suppress things, suppress, and we don't ever focus on the root cause of things. We only focus on the symptoms, and we just focus on coping a lot, and just we don't ever get down to the root cause of things. And I focused, what I was saying today is, what's really causing people to act like that when they get older? What's what's making someone feel the way they do? And to me, it starts when you're a child. It starts in the home. I think a lot of these cases you see lack of parents, lack of guidance, no spiritual no church, no nothing. And so I'm glad you came up here, because you're somebody that's kind of, we've heard your story, how your upbringing and with the church that you grew up in. And so I guess kind of what do you see with all this, just that inner rage, and just how we're not really shown how to heal.
Right. Yeah, no, especially with, I didn't look too much into the information about the shooter, the killer, whatever you want to call him. But, I've read little tidbits of info here and there, and it does sound like, classic case of it, bad or like non-existent, like parenting, non-existent spiritual kind of life, and bad like mental illness, and just like you said, just not dealing with the root cause of it. I mean, at the end of the day, because it's one of those things like we really, as a society, as an American society, really have to look at, like you said, like the root cause of it. Because I mean, even 50 years ago, I mean, there were a little bit less people in the United States, but we still had around like 250 million, something like that at the
Yeah.
time, I think.
Mhm.
And these cases were either non-existent, or when they happened, it was very few and far between.
Mhm.
Like back then, I think there was the thing that happened in Texas, that shooting in Texas, the dude on the clock tower or something like that. It's like the
Yeah,
first
yeah.
bad one,
Mhm.
but that pretty much like few and far between. So I think really it's kind of coming down to a societal issue. And I mean, hell, is even back then you could own an actual machine gun. Like that's
Mhm.
before
But
the Reagan
what do
laws.
you think though? Because you make a great point. Back then, I kind of wonder, just back in those era when you had less of these things, there wasn't as much bullshit out there that
Right,
could play with your mind.
right. Well, I
Nowadays
mean,
we have
it was
so
that,
many.
and the familial aspect
Yeah, we're surrounded
wasn't
by so
destroyed.
much. We're surrounded today by just so much. I mean, evil's just out in the open nowadays, point
Yeah,
blank. It ain't hiding. And we kind of live in a society now where we know what's obvious, we make it a mystery, and we render the truth irrelevant.
right.
And to me, it's kind of like we promote so many bad things, and we celebrate these certain songs that people make nowadays. You listen to some of these music being made, even the beat just sounds almost like you're walking into the dungeons of hell. I mean, and I don't think people we're just surrounded what you see and what you hear. I think back then it was less corrupt, I guess you could say, or just less access to have all these things mess with your mind.
Right.
Especially nowadays, a lot of parents, they're just allowing the tablets to raise their kids. They're allowing the internet to raise their kids, and that's kind of what I see. I don't know. What do you see?
I mean, there is a lot of that. I think big issue too is just the breakdown of the familial like aspect in general. Like the nuclear family
Yeah.
is dying. Like divorce rates in America are higher than they have ever been. They're only climbing. It's not something that's going down. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, experts think it's going to go down a little bit just because Americans are having less children than ever now.
Mm,
And that's goes down to like socioeconomic stuff. Like it's more
right.
expensive now to raise a child than it ever has been, and that's not going down. So
Mm-hmm.
I think really the nuclear family, not just being destroyed and breaking down over the past 50 years is really kind of the biggest contributing factor to
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
everything
it's
going
it's it's
on.
unfortunate too because there's people publicly that on these websites and certain organizations that say we want to dismantle the nuclear family, and they get everybody so riled up and going with it. And I kind of look at it, it's just satanic is what it is. It's anti-God.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not how God designed the family to be, and it's just crazy. I touched on earlier. I think a lot of just the pressure of the world as well. The pressure of what starts with fear. What do you fear? It's a pressure, and we're so pressured into, hey, if you don't believe what we think, we're going to isolate you out. You're not going to be fit in with anybody, or pressures of even as a younger person like myself or your age. Where I mean, we're not far in age. People in high school, you have to. They feel like all these standards you have to reach by a certain
Mhm.
age, and it's just all this pressure, just a lot of
Right.
pressure. And so, I guess, kind of, what do you? I know maybe you kind of went through that as well. Just a lot of just pressure. Maybe just feels too much. Where somebody's so young, they don't know how to process
Uh,
that.
it's hard being a young person nowadays. It's really hard being a kid.
Mhm.
I feel bad for my little brother who's still going through high school. Because
Yeah.
I mean, it was
Yeah.
hard when we were in high school, but like
Right.
it's even harder for him because he's being raised with the traditional values, whatever you want to call it. But
Mhm.
yeah, no, pressure is definitely something, especially at young adults feeling like there's that. I think we kind of touched on it in one of our past conversations, but there's that adage going around where it's like, oh man, I really should have accomplished more at 25 than I did, or something
Right.
along those lines, or oh man, I really should already have a degree or this or that by now. It's like, putting that societal like image of success that, everybody tries to attain at this point in their life. But yeah, there's a shit ton of pressure for people our age
I
anyway.
actually, that point you made there was a hell of a point you just made it towards the end about we think we have to set ourselves up for success this way. This is how society tells
Yeah.
us we have to do it by this age. I look at it as setting yourself up for success is starting in here, starting in there, your mind and your heart as a young kid. So when
Yeah.
you get older, it's like the Bible says, when you get older, raise your child in the ways of the Lord. So when they get older, they will not run from it. They always have that seed planted in them. You know what I mean? I think that's the way we should look at it, setting ourselves up.
Oh, yeah.
Because it is true. What you do in these years now will set you up for your future. These are important years. This will set you up for the rest of your life. And you and I probably know a lot of the same people that are 40, 50 years old, even 60 years old, that they're kind of in the same just mindset of just, they're just like the same. They get by, they go along, they get along, but they're not really happy people. They're just kind of miserable people, and they just kind of rot away. They turn to heavy drinking and turn to the wrong things for coping, or just to make themselves feel better. So I guess kind of, what do you think we should do better in terms of setting our kids up that way?
I mean, just you said. I mean, and this is gonna sound like weird, but obviously, doing your best just to be present in your child's life and actually, try and, raise them, a spiritual way, obviously, but also just remaining present. Because I think, if you don't want, and I'm not saying like if you don't do this, like your kid's gonna end up a mass shooter or like a criminal, like obviously, but like
I know what you mean. Yeah.
But just remaining present in your kids' lives, because like at the end of the day, it really is just absent father, absent mother, and this is a psychological fact. Psychologists have been studying this stuff for decades. The absence of a mother is going to cause X, Y, and Z to your development, and like when you're an adult, you might have trouble, finding a partner or socializing because you didn't have a mother, or like if you didn't have a father, you might not have discipline in your life, or you might like be super entitled, or you might just treat people like shit because you're not disciplined. Like really just remaining present and just doing your utmost. Like no one's going to be a perfect parent. It's impossible. Like everybody's going to make mistakes, but just being a parent, like is a big thing. And if you can raise your kid to be, if those people have those beliefs that they can raise their kid in a spiritual way and like with the Bible, it's even better. Like, but even just because the way America and at least Western society is like we're on this like bottom totem pole kind of thing where it's like it's hard for there to even be two parents right now.
It's not celebrated anymore. It's not.
Oh, I think I'm losing you a little bit.
Are you there? You hear me?
Hold on. Let me leave and I'll come back. Un momento.
Right. But yeah, I think that's a great point Mike was making there. Again, this is what we're talking about, is more of just starts at home. It starts when you're young. This is when it starts. And the link is in the chat. If anybody else wants to come up here and join our conversation, I'd love to have you up. If you got a point you want to make, or you maybe have some experience what we're talking about, or anything you want to come up and make a point, the link is in the chat. We'll see if we get Mike back up here. But I think, again, that was a great point. Our discussion we were having is, it starts at home. It starts at the foundation. It starts at the core, the root. Okay. This is where everything starts. But we're not looking to these things anymore. And it's kind of like I was saying when I was about to tell Mike, we don't really promote these things anymore in society. We don't celebrate these things. We promote struggle, victimhood, and all the things that you shouldn't want to be. That's not going to set you up for success in life. I could have stayed a victim with my anxiety. I could have, oh my gosh, well, it was me. I'm so, oh my gosh, every day it's just, I'm so I got anxiety. Like, what am I going to do with my life? I can't live. I can't do anything. No, man. If I'd have had that mentality, I wouldn't be here talking to you guys right now. And so now, am I where I want to be yet? Still, no, but I will get there, and I'm on my way there, and I will, in time, trust in my plan I have in place and what I'm doing. I am on my way, and God's will happen. But if I would have sat around and just cried, "Woe is me," and played victimhood and allowed these things just to control me, um, you know, I wouldn't be, like I said, I wouldn't be here right now, and so I wouldn't be able to help people the way I can now. I wouldn't be able to help give people guidance of certain directions to go when it comes to anxiety if I had that mentality. And so, but I think a lot of that also is because I also had a spirit inside of me when I was a kid. You know, I always had hope in me. That's what Christ is. It gives you hope. And, you know, but again, it's a welcome back, Mike. But,
Yeah, sorry about that. It
no, you're good.
wasn't letting me back in the regular way. I had to like go back through YouTube, find the link again.
Yeah.
I'm
No,
an
that's all good.
80-year-old when it comes to technology.
Yeah. No, this StreamYard stuff, everybody's getting used to it still. I still am too, but it's kind of like the new thing. I like it, uh, but anyways, you know, if when you went off, I was kind of picking up our conversation. I was talking about, you know, kind of the mindset of victimhood and just kind of, you know, what I was about to tell you is you were making a great point about, you know, the two parents in the home, how it's designed to, you know, how like I said, how it's designed, that's not celebrated anymore. And you know, I was kind of making the point of what's celebrated is victimhood, struggle, and just, you know, milking whatever you're going through and just being who you know, keeping that identity of a victim or whatever you're going through on you. You know, I was telling a point about, you know, if I would have kept that mentality with my anxiety journey as low as I got, I wouldn't be here today talking to you. I wouldn't be 14 episodes in now or doing anything in life. You know, I wouldn't be
Right.
able to do the things I'm able to do now if I would have kept that mentality and just been, oh man, woe is me. You know, I'm anxiety. This is the label I am, and it's all everybody else's fault. That's a
Right.
terrible mindset. And so I guess kind of, you know, we've your story obviously. Um, you probably got, you know, you got to a point you talked about where you were maybe in the flesh a lot, and but I guess kind of that mentality you see from a lot of people is really keeps them down. You know.
All right. Oh, just the self destruction in general will
Yeah.
keep you down. I mean, and self destruction, the way people generally use that term is like, oh, you know, alcohol and drugs. That's usually what that term is used for. But self destruction can take many different forms. You know, like with you it was, you know, just, you know, anxiety and play those movies playing in your head. With me, it was the same thing. Then it can
Mm-hmm.
manifest in those normal, like, you know, alcohol heavy drinkers. We all know people like that,
Yeah.
you know, self destruct, you know. So like and it's not healthy, and that stuff, and sometimes even that stuff is like celebrated, like, oh, you know, or it's at least normalized, you know,
Mm-hmm.
self-destructing a little bit. Like when my drinking got bad after my dad's death, we kind of talked about that. Like
Mm-hmm.
there were a lot of people in my family who was like, oh, it's normal, you know, he'll be all right, you know, just got to go through it. But really, like, if it wasn't for my missus being like, hey, maybe you should maybe you should not be doing that so much, and I
Yeah.
actually had to think about it. But yeah, there's so many things celebrated nowadays that are
Mm-hmm.
just that make, you know, that shouldn't be celebrated, you know.
Yeah.
And there are things that are put down that really shouldn't be put down. And you know, religion
Yeah.
is one of those. Like everybody tries to put it down now. Like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, it's, you know, so silly, this, that, and the other. Like,
Well, you know, that's why I brought up earlier. I saw something the other day. People are saying, well, clearly prayer doesn't work. No more prayer. And I'm thinking, you kind of just told what the problem is, really. You kind of just told on yourself what the general, you know, if you get what I'm saying, like
yeah,
that's the point. If you take God out of society, evil's going to run rampant. It's going to do what
yeah.
it's going to do. And so it's just crazy how people have completely just abandoned what they know to be true.
They've abandoned what works.
Right.
I just don't.
Exactly.
I
We've
don't get it.
abandoned, yeah, we've abandoned what works, and now we're falling into things that it's when you're that vulnerable mentally like that, where you, I mean, you're almost open to anything.
Right.
You're so manipulated through your mind, and to me, it's disappointing because, thankfully for you, you had, like you said, you had your missus that was kind of like seems to be the most positive person in your life at that time,
Yeah.
and had something in her to tell you, like, hey, it's like God sent her in your life for a reason, right? And so,
Right.
God sent people in my life for a reason, and so, but it's unfortunate too, Mike, that when you turn on the TV, when you turn on social media, especially the last 2 days, nobody's talking about things like this. It's not promoted. It's not, and it's kind of like, what do you think about just the lack of knowledge and education, and just the lack of all this, just the overall, like for me, it was when I found the anxiety guy, it was somebody that was related to me. You
Right.
don't have people like that can relate to these type of topics, and they're not promoted anymore. So why do you think we have such just a lack of knowledge? I don't know if we're just that stupid, or this is not promoted for a reason.
With it indirect like relation to mental
Yeah.
illness, or
And I don't want to say stupid. Let me clarify. What I mean by like just are we that dumbed down? Like where we're not looking to different outlets now than what we've been told.
well,
We're not questioning what we've always been told is the response. Basically, what I'm saying.
yeah.
And we keep promoting that.
Yeah, no, it seems like whenever like something like this happens, like no one wants to talk about like the mental illness or anything like
Mm-hmm.
that as an issue. Like everybody tries to go to the hot button topics, which is terrible that, tragedies have to be politicized as soon as they happen.
Right.
But I think maybe that's one thing. Like it just starts at, that big old classic argument that's been going on for forever. Probably
Mm-hmm.
will continue to go on, but as far as just as a society, we are pretty much kind of numb to mental illness. Like, or it's weird because it's like they try and like say like, oh, we got to make people aware of this, make people
Mm-hmm.
aware of this. So there are some organizations that try, but like when mental illness is the most prevalent and destructive, which is in your early developmental years,
Mm-hmm.
when you were in high school and whatnot,
Right.
and they really don't, and they either just don't like put enough emphasis on it, or maybe it's just a failing on the public school system
Mm-hmm.
on why it's not educated. Like, hey, if you're waking up every day feeling tired and you're tired all the time and you're feeling kind of sad for some reason, like maybe you actually have depression. Maybe we should,
Yeah.
like,
Maybe there's something going on there.
the schools really don't get involved. Like, I don't know why.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they really should at least be, like, I'm not saying they should like treat the kids themselves, but at least like notice like the flags, like you're around the kids constantly, like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
maybe little Billy has depression, maybe little Billy's dealing with anxiety, like maybe I should talk to the parents about this, and being like, because even the parents, maybe there's, they're off to work, 12 hours a day,
Mm-hmm.
little Billy gets home from school, parents not seeing little Billy for all of the school day, and then maybe he doesn't get home till 9 o'clock anyway, like, so maybe the parents don't even know what's going on
And a
in the
lot of times the
school.
parents aren't even home.
Yeah. And
The kid
maybe
goes
not.
home. He's at school. He's just going through the day, just lollygag, and then he gets home and he's just same thing. And it's just a cycle every day and every day.
Yeah.
But who's suffering? The child.
Yeah.
Even
Yeah.
as
So I think it might be like a failing of the, I guess, the public school system. Like, and I don't even feel like it's a whole hell of a lot they would need to do to even like at least better like the mental illness education. Like, because I mean, we all know it's happening. Like, I mean, I think the, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the percentage is like at least like 55% of Americans now deal with some form of mental illness in their
yeah.
day-to-day life. Like
Well, you're seeing a
over,
lot of repercussions now from, when we had to go through all that 2 years ago when everything was shut down. The kids weren't able to go to school. Nobody was
oh
able to
yeah,
do anything. Nobody did anything. But, I've listened to, and I know my mom works at a school, and I know I've listened to a lot of people that work with these kind of kids, especially kids maybe they're have addictions or maybe are have different mental states than everybody else. And they're all saying the same thing, and I could see it now is when we had to shut everything down like that, we knew it was going to be some repercussions to that
oh,
negatively. especially. But now you're really seeing the real repercussions happening now, because all that. What I'm saying is that happened, but all that time off and all that time being away from everything, all the help and being away from school, just everything locked down like that. You're seeing now the result of all that playing out right now.
Yeah, and here's the other thing. Like, I don't think we'll fully understand like what the repercussions of the lockdowns and everything like that are going to be. I think it's going to take us years to really realize like what we did to these kids. But I have a young family member that, like, I don't want to get too deep into it. I'm not going to put him on blast, but
oh, you're good.
I have a young family member that really doesn't like being around people because of all of this. Like, he doesn't want to be around people. He prefer to like be homeschooled just to like be rid of being around, being social. And it's a shame because he's a smart kid. He's a funny kid. He's a, really loving kid. But it's just, modicum of the times, and it's unfortunate. It's sad. I don't think we'll, like I said before, I don't think we'll understand the psychological impact it had on youths, because I mean, here it had psychological impact on like
everybody,
grown people. Like, we're walking around like terrified, like, oh, am I going to breathe in the disease? Am I going to, cough out a lung? Am I going to die? It put this societal anxiety on everybody.
Yeah.
And here, like, I get it. Like, at the time, we didn't know a lot about it. It just came out of nowhere, it felt like. But it messed up everybody for a while. For a minute there too, I was kind of freaked out. I was like, oh well, like the next Spanish flu, like what?
yeah. I mean, it's something we've never seen, and but I think now we're at a point where, I think we're pretty. If you don't know by now where you stand, I think you're kind of far behind. But I think now we have the choice to what are we going to do about it, and I think like, are we going to keep doing the same thing over and over as society? We keep doing the same cycles, and it's kind of upsetting. You made a great point earlier about the public schools, or I would say the school system in general, and just. I think a lot of these adults, I think they do try to help. They mean well, because I know a lot of them. But I think a lot of them, they only know what they know.
Right.
And I guess kind of we don't have the real. I think we could have much better help in this country when it comes to, in society in general, when it comes to these things. But we don't ever look to that ever. And we've also, like you said earlier, we've turned our back against what works, what ultimately works. And so, to me, it's like today's emphasis, getting to the root cause, to me, that's where it all starts right there. I think even some adults now don't really know that, are aware that some of the things they do in their own life, the habits they have, are really just not out of fear. It's just like, it's really, that's their anxiety. But we don't question these things. So, yeah, man, I don't know. So, some crazy times right now.
It is some weird times, man. I'm hoping they'll get better. Election season, so who knows?
Yeah, you never know. That's another thing. It's every one of these years some crazy stuff happens. So
I just want one normal one. I just want like a 2013 or something.
All right, just a normal year of just
2011. Like, what even happened in 2011? I don't even remember 2011. Exactly.
2011, I was 2011. I was going to the light. I was playing football.
Yeah.
I was running around with my friends, doing whatever.
11 years ago, so I was 15. I was in my freshman year of high school. I was having a great time.
Yeah, having 11
sort of. But still. Like, can't I just get a 2011?
Right. Or even a 2016. That was a great. Oh, that was a good year for me, actually. 2016. The Cavs won.
Cavs won.
That felt good. That was just a good year.
That was. That really was. I'm hoping like something really nice happens this year to just like offset all the like like weird shit. Like, if the Browns win the Super Bowl, man, that'd be great.
They'd burn the city down if that happens. Or, it'd be a massive party.
Yeah, they built a statue out of Deshaun Watson with the rubble. They do everything.
man.
Like so
Let
many.
me ask you. I sent you a lot of that stuff. Did you watch some of that stuff I sent you the other day?
What the
Deshaun Watson stuff?
was that the oh, are you talking about like the on the cases or
Yeah, about the case. There's more details coming out now because I think this kind of goes kind of what we've been talking about, kind of just
yeah.
the overall picture of things and
Yeah, I've
questioning.
seen that. And then G. Bush,
Yeah, Garrett Bush made that
he made a
video.
video about it too.
Yeah, and it's bizarre. It's kind of like we were just talking about. It was kind of weird that we were pushed one narrative from the get go, and a lot of people was like, and again, if people are, it's your choice to that makes our country the greatest. You have your choice to believe whatever you want, and so, but I'm somebody that I said, and you said numerous times on this show, and I've said it is, hey, we want to wait and see. I want to see. There's two sides to every story. And man, now you're starting to hear some things that are coming out from Deshaun Watson's side and kind of just in the middle. It's really making you start to question a lot of these. I don't want to say, well, I guess you could say the case in general, allegations, and just kind of like, man, this is kind of a failure of journalism again.
Yeah, and I mean, and it's that weird gray area, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, because at the time when it first hit, like I was like, my first like moral thing that I stood on, I was like, well, I don't want to call the dude guilty, and I'm not going to call the dude innocent because in my mind, both were equally wrong, right? Like, if you call him guilty, it's like, no, you don't know he's guilty. You don't know he did it. Innocent until proven guilty. That's legit how it works. Like, God forbid, anybody or you ever get like, accused of something. Like, you don't want to be like guilty like that. You got to prove it,
Right.
But you can't call him innocent because at the same time, 22 cases at the time were a lot. And then, the information actually starts to flow. Like, I think one woman actually, like, because from my understanding, there are only actual 3 cases that, one, violate the NFL's code of conduct policy. There are only 3 cases. And 2, those cases are the only ones where they said that Deshaun was forceful. And one of those women, like, has already been proven that, like, her and her agent, because she wasn't like an actual massage therapist, she was an Instagram model that did massages or something.
When you look into the court documents too, some of the statements that are made, it's almost like I don't want to put, well, she kind of had a reputation, it sounds like, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So I think, again, I'm just these things are just facts that they're in the court document. They should be, and they should be all the facts should be presented to the table, and not this one way or the other, just like it's either this way or that way. There's no in between, like you're saying. Like, it's just bizarre when you look at some of these statements that are coming out now and some of the real details, like you're saying. It's like,
okay. Yeah, one woman tried to like blackmail him, like, "Hey, give me $100,000 or I'm gonna."
Well, not only that, and some people say, I know a word people don't like is conspiracy, but it was a proven fact, whatever it's worth, that the lawyer lives 200 feet from the Texans owner.
Yeah.
Does that mean anything? Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. I don't know. Should it be pointed out? Sure. They're all involved, and so there is family relations in between the two families. And you look at the timeline of the whole thing. He comes out in a press conference after a game, voices his frustration in the organization negatively, whatever. Then he asks for a trade.
Why'd you trade DeAndre Hopkins?
Right. And he's, Walmart receivers and all that.
Yeah. Why did you trade DeAndre Hopkins?
And then he asks for a trade. And then after the trade request, then this comes. And so I think there's nothing wrong with questioning things. If people want to question things, go ahead. That's not the first time something like that might have happened either. We've seen that happen before.
Yeah.
I mean, in different ways, obviously, maybe not where 22 allegations, but we've seen guys get isolated out of things where, go look at Kwame Brown's story. Go listen to Kwame Brown. He'll tell you how he was ran out of the league. Go look at Royce White, how he was ran out of the league in the NBA. And so these things are pretty common, actually. And so, but again, I think that's something that should be pointed out. I mean, you look at all the details and the facts, and I think, Deshaun's lawyer, what's his, Rusty Hardin.
Yeah, Rusty.
He made a point the other day. Again, I'm just stating what he said, which is, he thought it was kind of bizarre. They all have the same lawyer.
Yeah, that's and we kind of touched on that before, like how that was a little weird. And I actually watched that HBO thing, and I don't think it helped their case whatsoever. Like it really helped Deshaun's case. If anything, like they asked Tony Busman like flat out, like, do you think these women are telling the truth? And he goes, well, I certainly hope so. Like he doesn't even say yes or anything like that. Like,
and I thought it was kind of odd too. Like was that? Would you? Let me ask you. Would you do it if you were on their side? Would you want to do that during and in the middle of an ongoing civil trial? Does that
from like the legal standpoint, no, but from a PR standpoint, what they're doing is just trying to put more fuel to the fire to get them to settle.
Right.
Like that's what they're hoping.
So you think it's more PR than you don't really care?
Yeah, absolutely. So like because at the end of the day, like there are no criminal trials; it's all civil. So they're just trying to get paid. And that might sound bad, but like that's what the cases at this point are about. They're civil cases, so they're just trying to get money at this point. There is no criminal trials.
Right. And one thing I do agree with though, that Rusty Hardin said is about people are kind of trashing the organization, the Browns, because they didn't interview the women. They said they said they had a thorough investigation. Mm-hmm. I believe they probably looked at a lot of these same court documents. You just look at statements.
Yeah, I mean they hired like a couple private and like really well-known private investigators. So
right, and my point is, I heard some people say, "Well, you should have interviewed them because you need to hear the emotion. You need to hear the." And my point is, when you're making a decision like that, number one, it's their side versus his side. There's in the middle. The Browns are in the middle, like the legal process. The people are in the middle. You kind of just read the statements, the word. You make a logical decision in this case, not a emotional decision, because emotions could be. Deshaun's gonna have emotions when he talks about it. These 22 women, they're gonna have emotions when they talk about it. Well, let's look at the facts. Yeah. So, but not only that, and then like Rusty Hardin pointed out, the Browns actually could have got. That's called obstruction of an investigation if you interfere. It's called interference.
And because they had
the lawyers are just smart, and the lawyer said, "Hey, maybe it's not smart to do that."
Yeah, because they have a vested interest. Like they wanted to
it's a business.
So, yeah, no, I didn't understand though. Like, oh, they should have interviewed the ladies, and I was like, no. And here's the thing: like historically, like we know Deshaun didn't do anything criminally, at least. Like we know that for sure, because 2 separate grand juries won't indict him, and just that in and of itself, like the Browns were fine, like going after him, because at the very least, like he might get suspended at this point, he might not. I think they will, but I think
they sped it up too. That whole process. Even Deshaun said that himself. He goes, "I feel like I was being sped up to make a decision quick." Like that whole week was the Deshaun Watson week. Like,
yeah.
And then all of a sudden he signs, and now it's back to this. But I'm like, well, what happened last week when you were making the biggest? Like, whoever gets this guy, they're a contender. Look at his last year. He was top 5 in every statistical category, and
and that's the weird thing with sports media too, right? Because like they were all like singing his praises, right? For like until they found out where he was going, because it was like the one exciting thing that happened in the early off season.
Right.
And then like he finally picked a team, and now everybody's like, all right, now it's time the media to bash the dude again, because he picked somewhere.
And that's why when I said I thought the press conference was kind of disgusting by the media, because again, I understand you got to ask questions. It's the job as the media to get questions for the public, and we all knew they were going to ask about it, which I get that. I would ask. But I felt like when you go back and watch that, it was almost like they were asking him if he was guilty. Some of these reports, they were like, they weren't being in that middle area, like we said. Again, if he's guilty, and you and I would both agree, if he's guilty, then he should pay the penalty.
Yeah.
If he's not guilty, then he's not guilty. But until then, we should treat it as in the middle area. And I think a lot of those people in that press conference, it was almost like, I've heard some people analogize it to, they like had him nailed to the cross almost up there, and just like,
there was a couple of our lovely local beat reporters trying to stir the pot. I think Tony Grossi
was the only one that asked the football question.
Yeah. Tony Grossi asked the one football question. Mary Kay Cabot was pretty.
She's fair. Yeah.
She asked some fair questions. I think she's our best beat reporter. Side note,
I
she
like Mary
probably.
Kay's great. Tony's been around a long time. We have some good reporters around here. I like.
There
there's a
are
lot of
times
reporters I
when
like.
you could tell the coaching staff hates Tony Grossi, though. You could tell.
Well,
like
Tony, yeah,
Kevin,
Grossi, he's gonna ask tough questions. That's why he is who he is, though. He just
yeah.
doesn't care. He's old school. You know, it's
But
like
he's
that old
like the
school.
one reporter that Kevin will actually be like, he'll say his name before he answers the question, just so like the audience knows who asked it. Be like, yeah, Tony, and then just go into it.
Yeah.
Like, you're asking about the fullbacks again, Tony, huh?
But but again, I think the reason why I brought this, it's kind of what we talked about earlier with other things going on. It's just that's another example of people jumping the gun, but also it's a failure.
It's the court of public opinion. I mean, that's gonna be a thing.
Well, I know, but what I'm talking about earlier though is, people believe in everything they see on social media, everything they see in the corporate, and they take the talking points, and it's like this brainwash like we talk about. I'm not saying this is the whole Deshaun Watson's brainwash. That's not what I'm saying. But it's, again, what I'm saying, another example of we didn't get the facts, the full story, obviously, at the beginning. And a lot of people took what was put out there. And I see signs going down the road of where I live that say shame on the Browns.
Oh, dude, I've seen that sign.
I'm never watching again. Yeah, you know where it is. Never watching again. And all these things. And I'm kind of thinking, well, hold on a minute. Did you hear the other side, though? Because I don't think I'm not mad at these people.
Well, people try and use it for, and here's the biggest thing: people try and use it for virtue signaling.
Oh, yeah. Now you're really speaking my language. Oh man, that's a whole nother. But I think some people though maybe just didn't know because they were only pushed one side down their throat. Again, another failure of what the media is supposed to be doing. That's why I like what Garrett Bush did in that video. And again, anybody go look up Garrett Bush.
I love G. Bush, man.
G. Bush is great. And I respect, it doesn't mean I always agree with him, but I respect the hell out of the guy for doing that.
He is honestly.
He did what a real journalist should do.
He's a real journalist, and he just happened to choose sports to cover. But I think G. Bush, if he was covering anything, would be a great reporter because he's honest. He's honest, and he's always tries to get all the facts before he actually tells his audience, which I think is awesome. You don't see that much anymore in journalism because journalism's all buzz stories and hot words and the news cycle. Like my brother, well, I say he's my brother. He's my best friend, but basically my brother. But he was in the military, and they taught him about it's called the media cycle, and it's like an actual psychological thing where the media will do a story, and it'll be a horrible story, and then it'll basically be okay, well, we just showed you this to get you to feel this way. Now look at this, and they'll it's called the media cycle, and you ever hear people say, man, it's just, it feels like one thing after the other. It's just constant. Why are we forgetting all these news stories? And it's it's a real thing the media does. They're doing it on purpose. The whole.
He's the only one that I've seen that went out and looked at the other and really went and found the court documents. And a lot of what we've heard from people everywhere is
him and Mary Kay was kind of fair. Mary Kay was more fair than I thought she was going to be.
But I'm saying in terms of, I never seen he's the first one I saw that went and actually did a real investigative journalist report.
Oh yeah, he's the only one I saw did that.
And he didn't say one side's guilty or one side's innocent. And I'm like that. We're the same way. We're just in the middle. We're just kind of hey, there's two sides to every story. But again, another example of, and like you said, I think the last point you made, we'll end on that, is the virtue signaling. And I think that kind of goes back to what I talked about earlier, the pressures of the world. You feel like you have to I have to go on Facebook or Instagram or whatever for the "Hey, look at me" show, get all the likes and comments, and everybody's gonna, "Oh, you're great." They clap and you go.
Yeah, look at my moral high ground. Look how good of a person I am.
Go. And a lot of these people too that do these things, they're really different people behind the scenes. They're not who they portray themselves to be online.
Oh yeah.
They're kind of two-faced people. And but what do you think? I guess we'll end on this. It kind of reminds me of the point we made earlier about pressure, and it turns into this virtue signaling when you're just a very inauthentic person.
Yeah, I mean, that's the biggest thing. I think you hit on hit the nail on the head right there. It's just a lot of these people that are using virtue signaling just to try and project like, oh, look how good of a person I am. But like, I don't remember which comedian it was. I think it might have been Ricky Gervais. It was one of those British comedians that are just awful to everybody. But he came out and was like, oh, I wonder how many of these, people who are all up in arms online about all these buzzword topics are just using all this to just mask the fact that they're, I think he said something not nice, but I'll just say it was like how many of them are just like unlikable, like bastards, like, how much of them are just like honestly horrible people that are using.
And a lot of them, the same things they point out, they do.
Oh yeah.
And it's like the other day with what happened the other day. It's turned into a political conversation now, and I'm thinking, well, if we want to go down that road, we'll protect a bank more than we'll protect a school.
Yeah, and I've never understood and brief touch on the politics of that. Like, I've never understood how they think that would work in America, because there are 400 million civilian firearms in circulation, and that's just the ones that the government knows about. Like, those are lawfully purchased firearms. There are 325 million people in the country. There are more guns in circulation in America than there are people. There are 120 guns per 100 residents. There is no feasible way to there's no feasible way to do the European model of gun control. It won't work in America.
And some people might oppose that model. They think,
not only will people oppose it, like here, some people may I'm pro Second Amendment, but I'm just saying, like, the actual realism of trying to, I'm just trying to, what's the word? I'm trying to see their side of the story. Like, okay, if you want that to happen, if you think banning guns, assault rifles, whatever you want to call them, and really when they say assault rifles, they're talking about the AR platform. It's just a semi-automatic rifle. An M14, which looks less threatening, has the same stopping power and, killing capability as an AR Armalite rifle platform, right? So, okay, let's see their side of the story. All right. Ban all guns. How would that work in America? It just couldn't. We have too many guns. Too many guns are already in circulation, or 400 million we know about. Probably another, how many million bought illegally, and then you can't track gun show sales and all this other stuff. But it just wouldn't work. So you got to look for other avenues. Like you said, defend a bank, like you defend a school.
We protect our money more than our own children.
And I'm sure there are a bunch of veterans or the National Guard. I don't know. There's a million probably things you could do to post up security in school.
I mean, I've heard that's been a topic the last couple of days. I've been on some panels, and I think having maybe 2 guards, either police officers or armed security in schools. If you want to go ahead, just put the metal detectors in. Go ahead and put them in. I think we should be very safe and secure. These are our children. This is our future.
Yeah.
And so, but like I said, we'll treat a bank and our money more. We'll protect that more than our own children. And it just pisses me off too. And you see these people go online, or you see these people out in the mainstream, these public figures, so-called, that are just, why they're as important, I don't know. And we promote these things. They're saying, we got to take everything. We got to take it all. And I'm thinking, some of these people saying these things, they have armed security with them everywhere they go.
And
I'm thinking,
armed security, live in a gated community,
And it's like, for instance, an athlete or an entertainer, or a coach. We saw, that's just a game, But again, I'm not saying we don't wish. I think everybody. I understand why there's security at these places. You have to. I agree with that. But aren't our children the more important than anything? I mean, that's what everybody's saying. But then everybody says it, but then they do nothing about it. They just go along to get along.
Yeah, I
don't know either.
I don't know. I feel that's really the only thing I could think of is bolster security. Bulletproof doors. There's
and it's fun. I've heard people. I heard somebody earlier on a panel on another channel, and the YouTuber just kind of went off on her. She came up there and she's like, "Yeah, I think we have way too many guns in society. We should take a lot of them." And then he goes, "Well, what do you want to do about it?" He kind of got pissed, and she goes, "Well, I have a gun." And I'm thinking, okay, you just said you're anti-gun, but you have a gun. And then he asked her, he goes, "Do you know what kind of gun you even have?" She goes, "No." Never even shot it. And I think that's another, if you want to talk about more, because there are things we could do better there. How about just proper training? You
Yeah.
need to be trained. You need to know how to handle a firearm. You need to know how to safely store a firearm.
Oh, absolutely. Like,
There's a lot of things. I wasn't allowed to have a firearm or do anything until I was trained. That was a rule.
yeah,
And I agree with that. I'm glad it was like that, because you should just get a gun and not know what to do with it.
yeah. And like, obviously gun safety classes are exceptionally important. I mean, there's a million things we could
But again,
do
it's
to make
right. Like we hit on.
America safer for
Right. But again, it's like the conversation for today, getting to the root cause of things, really getting down to things, what really is going on. We just don't, for some reason, these discussions don't happen for some reason. So,
yeah, the mental health obviously is the root cause of it all, which I think
yeah,
has to do with the nuclear family. Like, parenting is a big thing, because you look at, like, what can possess somebody to, like, do that heinous act, but like the dude apparently shot his grandmother like before he
or he
like
tried. I think he tried. I don't know
yeah
the whole. I'm just clarifying. I don't know. I think at the
yeah
end he tried. I don't know, but you're right though. Yeah.
like I don't know what possesses someone to do something so heinous and evil, but it they really need to. We really
Well,
need to, as
and I think a
Americans.
lot of, I know where it was. I know there was a lot of red flags already with that guy.
Yeah,
Like most of these kid, really, he's 18. He's really a kid. That's really young. I'm only 22, but there was a lot of red flags leading up to that, and I just wonder, was it kind of was he another product of just the failure of our society in terms of how we help kids, how we or just help anybody with those problems.
right.
I just wonder, do we need to do better in that? That's where we need to do better. That's what I've been saying all day today. That's where we need to really focus on. Where are we failing in that aspect?
Yeah,
like you just said. And so, yeah, man, I don't know. We'll see where we go from here. But I appreciate coming up here. I'm gonna wrap this up. I'm gonna play a quick video on the way out, and appreciate you coming on like always. And
appreciate you having me on per the usual.
Yeah, hope you're feeling better. And,
I am. I can't wait to taste things again.
Yeah,
I'm going to Swenson's as soon as I can taste something.
There you go. What do you get at Swenson's?
Oh man, I don't think I've had anything but a Galley Boy. It's a Cajun Galley Boy, Cajun potato teasers. I usually get 2 Galley Boys, and then a grape milkshake.
Yeah, kind of like my order. So I don't drink. If I do get a drink, occasionally I'll get a chocolate milkshake.
The grape, man, I'm telling you, everybody looks at you like you got horns, but the grape, it's the truth.
The California? Is that what it's called?
The California's good, but I usually just get the grape milkshake, man. Like,
you
I
remember the milkshake.
Yeah, the grape milkshake.
Oh, damn.
I'm telling you,
really?
It's a game changer, man.
Wow, I might have to look into that.
Yeah. You gotta get one. Like, everybody's like, "What the hell is that?" I'm like, "Oh, it's a grape milkshake." And they're like, "That's weird." I'm like, "It is, but it's delicious."
You gotta go to the right Swenson's too. You gotta go to the one that's like
in Stowe, right on 59. That one's perfect.
Well, I do go to that one occasionally. So either that one or over in North Hill. I'll go to that one too.
Okay, I know the one.
Cuyahoga Falls Avenue, but that one, I've been to the one over on Hawkins too a couple of times. But yeah, I mean, you got to go to the ones near Akron.
Yeah.
I don't. I heard the ones on the outside. Once you get out of Akron, I heard they're not as good.
I didn't know there was one in Canton. I really didn't.
They just opened one in Cincinnati.
They did?
Yeah.
They don't deserve Swenson's.
No, they got their little Skyline chili.
Yeah, they got Skyline. That's their thing, is the weird chili. That's really sauce. It's not even real chili.
Not real chili. Yeah, they just took meat, just threw it on the thing. Like, here you go.
Yeah. Oh, and real quick thing about, have you noticed Bengals fans trying to get all tough and whatnot, even though they're still going to be like the little brothers of the AFC North for forever? It's like the Browns aren't scared of the Bengals like that. Like,
everybody knows who the team in Ohio is.
Yeah.
It's the Ohio State Buckeyes, #1. That's like the king. And then it's the Browns right there. I mean, you can make a debate between those two, but I mean, come on.
I don't. Here, when Joe Burrow actually beats the Cleveland Browns, maybe then they can talk a little bit.
I like Joe Burrow. but I watched Joe Burrow play basketball in high school, believe it or not, at one time.
I heard he was a good basketball player.
I saw him
Actually,
play in person. It's on YouTube in 2014 at St. V. I watched him.
that's
But
wild.
I'm actually in the video too. You see me sitting in the front row. I'm like right there watching him. Me and my dad and I, we used to go to games all the time. But
I heard he's a nice guy.
he is, yeah. I like Joe Burrow, but I mean, come on. And there's more Steelers fans in Ohio than there is Bengals fans.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, Cincinnati's in Kentucky, so I mean.
Yeah, but I mean,
it's not really Ohio.
Like you're saying, going around acting tough. Just all right. Well, we'll see him in the fall. I'll just put it at that. We'll see you in the fall.
Yeah, I can't wait.
Yeah,
dude, the Halloween game's gonna be cool. Monday Night Football on Halloween. Yeah. Bengals Browns. That'll be a good game.
That's gonna be a great game. That's gonna be that'll be awesome. That stadium should be rocking too.
Yeah. So, it's a home game. Yeah, I thought about attending, but I don't. I think tickets are disgusting right now. I looked at a couple prices. Like,
well, there's one game you and I talked about. If I might pay whatever is the Buccaneers game.
Oh yeah, I gotta, because I don't think I've ever seen Tom Brady play live.
I haven't either. Might be the last chance.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
He could play for another decade, as far as we know.
I mean, I could go down to Tampa and see, because I have family down there. I could go to a game down there if I wanted, but
I want to watch him lose to the Browns.
I'd rather see it. I'd rather see it at First Energy.
He's never played the Browns well. Like all of the time, like the Browns usually come out with a dub against the Tom.
They should have beat him in 2012. I was in New England. I have family in New England. Mm-hmm. I was in New England watching that game when Josh Gordon went off, and they should have won that game. Typical Browns debacle at the end, but yeah, you're right. He always struggles against the Browns for several.
I don't know why. It's the orange helmets, man. It's the.
I don't know.
It's the orange helmets. Some in the water. I don't know what you want to call it. The ghosts of Bill Belichick's past.
Maybe. I know Belichick still roots for the Browns deep down inside, but because he was sorry how it ended, but you know.
Oh, we should have never fired him. What could have been?
Well, they didn't fire him. They moved the team. You know.
I know
they were building something, and then they moved the team, and he's like, "Thanks." You know, that's really what ended everything. But
well, I mean, I guess it worked out because he didn't coach the Ravens, so that's
it worked out. But although they still stole 2 Super Bowls from us, but
they did.
Anywho, we could have had Ray Lewis in the brown and orange.
Ed Reed.
What a damn shame. But
Joe Flacco.
Oh man, the pain of being a Cleveland sports fan.
Yeah. I mean, here we're looking up.
Now we're here. Yeah, look at the Cavs. We got the Buckeyes gonna be firing this fall, and
I'm excited that the Steelers drafted Kenny Pickett. Everything's looking up. I'm trying to wrap my head around that pick, man. I still haven't really figured it out.
I liked him in college, but
I didn't like him that much. Pick 20.
I don't think. I'm not sure. I thought Malik Willis was actually the best quarterback in the draft, to be honest.
Yeah,
talent-wise, but
I thought Desmond Ridder was like the most pro-ready, but
he has the most ups. I think he has the most upside.
Yeah. I don't know. When they picked Kenny Pickett, I was just like, yes.
Right. A lot of people were. There were some Steelers fans that were kind of like, oh.
Yeah, 1,000 years of darkness. Get ready.
You just had a Hall of Famer for all these years. Now you got
Kenny Pickett, Mitch Trubisky.
Yeah, maybe Pickett will be great. I don't know. We haven't seen him play yet, to be fair.
I don't know. I think it's one of those things like the Steelers finally trying to do we know something the rest of the league doesn't. Like every time the Browns tried to do that, we fell flat on our face. Oh. So I don't want to hear it. The rest of the league was like, nah, man, he's like a 3rd-round quarterback at best.
Yeah. Your receiving core is not even that good.
No.
As you think.
My favorite part about that draft, too, is Chase Claypool going up there. And, like, everybody booed. And he's like, is that the Browns? And then after trying to dog on us, he read off the name of his replacement, George Pickens.
Yeah, pretty much.
Read his replacement. Because they ain't paying him and Deontay. I'd keep Deontay.
Maybe.
Hell, I'd love Deontay Johnson on the Browns. Deontay Johnson's a great receiver.
Yeah, I thought the best receiver. Well, he's not Juju, but he's gone. But
I thought their best receiver is Deontay Johnson.
Really?
Oh, by far. Deontay Johnson.
He's from Toledo, isn't he?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I know. Yeah,
smaller school, but a lot of
came out of
talent.
Toledo. Yeah, he's third rounder, I believe, or something like that. Yeah, yeah, he does have a lot of talent, but I don't know. I mean,
And he's a hard worker. He's a Mike Tomlin guy. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Like Chase Claypool.
I like David Bell.
Oh, I love David Bell.
I
I'm
like
excited
David
to
Bell.
watch him.
He made a hell of a catch. Before we go, real quick, did you see this guy? I don't even remember his name. He was like an undrafted guy.
Isaiah Weston
Isaiah Weston. He made that one-handed catch the other day in practice
from
at OT.
Iowa State, I think, or
Like 6'3",
Central
6'4".
Iowa or something like that.
Yeah, he's like 6'3", 6'4", ran a 4.3, and I'm like,
Randy Moss retweeted him.
yeah, I'm like, damn, we might have a steal with this guy.
I think if there's any undrafted guy that actually makes the team, there are two. There's him, and then there's this linebacker who showed a couple. Yeah, from Coastal Carolina, Silas Kelly, I think is his name.
He looks just like a badass. Like,
yeah, he looks like a Brown.
He looks like a pro. That's what he looks like, just a pro. Like,
yeah,
him, and then the guy too, the tight end they're high on. He was a basketball player in college.
Oh, I don't even know his name. I know who you're talking about.
I mean, Angie Berry did a hell of a job bringing in the undrafted guys. I mean, that's where they
brought in a bunch of receivers trying to see who would stick. I really don't know where that Michael Woods kid fits that we actually drafted in the 6th from Oklahoma. Like,
I wonder if he's going to be converted to a corner. If he's one of those guys, a tweener, kind of like,
because like we don't like. I thought at first I was like, "Oh, is this like that's not our punt return guy?" Because we signed Jakeem Grant for 3 years.
Right. Like that's the best in the league.
Yeah, we signed the best guy to do that.
Right.
So like that's not what Michael Woods is. Like, at this point I feel like we have too many receivers. I'm like, okay, Amari Cooper's the one. Donovan Peoples-Jones is going to be a good 2, in my opinion. David Bell in the slot.
Yeah.
And then you still have to find Schwartz to do something.
Schwartz. I don't know
how I feel about Schwartz yet.
I don't think we've seen the best. I think he's a rookie.
I mean, he was a rookie last year.
Did he get injured at one point?
Yeah.
Injured. Yeah, I mean,
I'm not ready to give up on the kid. He's going into his second year, but like
he's got the world-class speed. I think the guy that is going to be a Swiss Army knife is Felton. I like Demetric Felton a lot. I think his versatility is.
I don't know what we're gonna do with all our running backs. That's another thing because Stefanski was
they had him in the slot. They had him in running back. I like that though.
Yeah,
versatility. He's a playmaker. Just give him the ball, let him go.
Yeah, they had him in a lot of like gadget plays, and then they were like, well, he's going to be returning punts, and then he sucked at that. Like he was not good.
Yeah.
So they were like, well, he can at least be a really good running back. And he showed some flashes, like, catch and run for that 40-yard touchdown against, I think it was the Bears. But like, I just don't know. Like, okay, so
I like the versatility.
I like the versatility, but it's like, so we have Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt, Dearness Johnson, always like, as hard as it feels like the Browns try and like kick him to the curb, he always finds a way back into the running back room.
He's like a good guy too.
Yeah, because he's just such a hard worker. Yeah, and then we draft Jerome Ford, and then you have Demetric Felton. So like, what's going to happen? What's happening? I don't get it.
It's good problems to have. In the past we had none of this.
So, yeah, we were like, man, I miss Duke Johnson.
Yeah, or we had Jamal Lewis, who was towards the end of his career. We had him for a while.
Jamal Lewis.
Who else do we have? Who was the guy that ran for like 300 yards at a game that time against Kansas City? Jamal. I can't remember his name. I don't even remember this. It was like 2009 or 10. They played at Kansas City. This guy ran for he broke a record.
Don't know, but that sounds like a very Browns thing to do.
Yeah,
we had Peyton Hills that one season where he was on the cover of Madden after.
He had a run for a minute.
Yeah, everybody thought. I was like, Peyton Hills might be an MVP candidate next year. Never was the same.
Josh Cribbs was even running back for a minute, but
we tried to make Josh Cribbs the offense at that point because he was
a team at one point.
He was the only bright spot.
Yeah, him and Joe Thomas and Phil Dawson. That was about it. Your kicker, your left tackle, and a special team receiver. That was your best.
That sounds like.
Put that on an advertisement. Hey, come on down and watch the Browns, folks. Come pay all this money to park and concessions and go watch Joe Thomas block.
Yeah. I mean, here, at the very least, offensive linemen get their love in Cleveland. Because, I've never seen an O lineman jersey outside of Cleveland. Like, you know, I've just the other day I was in a grocery store. I saw a dude with a Wyatt Teller jersey. I'm like, where else is there going to be a guard, a right guard's
the guy had a
jersey?
Teller jersey on in the club recently, and he saw him, or it was,
Oh
I don't know,
yeah, I
it
did
was
see
somewhere like
that.
a bar or a club or something. And he went up to it, shook his hand. He was like, "Damn, that guy's got my." Even he was shocked. Like, that dude's got a Teller jersey on. Do you see that?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, I mean, I see Batonio jerseys all the time. You know, I've seen
yeah.
a couple Willis Jr. jerseys. Like, it's wild. Like Cleveland's like, yeah, we love our O linemen here. We love them.
Yeah, we do. I love Joe. I wore 73 because of Joe Thomas.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but all right, man, I appreciate it. And then we had some fun there at the end with the Browns and stuff. But I hope everybody, if you didn't see the beginning of this conversation earlier in the show, go back
Absolutely.
and watch. We had a very important conversation today. So, but I hope you feel better, bro. I appreciate you coming on again. You got anything
Appreciate you
want to say on
having
the way
me.
out?
What was that?
You got anything you want to say to the people on the way out?
Do I want to say something on the way out? Well,
Yeah.
Watson is saying something. Watson, say something on the way out. No, why are you walking away? All right.
All right.
I was going to have my dog bark in the screen. I thought that'd be cool, but
All right. All right, bro. I'll see you later.
all right. I'll talk to you. Thank you for having me later on.
All right. Thanks for Mike coming on. And, before I get out of here, I want to play this video real quick, going back to ending, we had some fun there at the end, but we had a pretty serious conversation today, and this will re-upload, so go back and watch it. But before we get out of here, one thing I want to talk about, this is kind of like the most important thing I could leave you with the conversation today is, like I said earlier in that one part in Dennis's video, wherever you are, don't beat yourself up. Don't carry that. You don't have to carry this guilt anymore. You don't have to carry all that just suppression and just all that baggage anymore, And so I'm gonna leave you guys at this video today on the way out. Let me pull it up here in a minute. And again, I think this is probably the most important thing I could leave you guys with today, to really top off this great conversation. I'm gonna play the beginning of it, and yeah, man.
The whole gospel is in it. There's repentance. It's the only deathbed repentance in the whole Bible. I don't know what led this fellow to ask that question or to make that statement. It might have been the prayer that Jesus had just prayed, Father, forgive them, they know not what they do. It might have been what Jesus had said to John concerning his mother. I don't know what it is or what it was, but the Holy Spirit used it. The Holy Spirit used it to convict him and to convince him that he needed Jesus, and he repented of his sins at that moment, and he was saved. I can imagine the other thief saying, why, what have you done? Have you turned preacher or something? You remember we strangled that old merchant for his gold? Remember you kidnapped that little child? Remember that girl you raped? Remember that person you slew? You think God's going to forgive you, or you turn a preacher? He can't forgive you. I don't care what your sin is. I don't care how deep in sin you've gone. I don't care what you've done. God can forgive you. God can cleanse you. God can make you a new person tonight if you put your faith and your trust in him.
And amen to that. And yeah, man, if you guys got anything going on in your life, whatever baggage you carried around, or like, that's what I see a lot of days is a lot of times nowadays is, a lot of people have something inside of them that's really nagging at them. Maybe there's, if you don't belong to the Lord, maybe there's something inside you that say, hey, maybe you've gone away from your faith. Something inside of you is telling you, nagging at you, like, hey, you need to turn to this. Hello, like, wake up. And no matter where you are or what you're going through, just always remember that God's there for you. Just go to him, turn to him. And I think Reverend Graham couldn't have said any better there. And yeah, man, that's a message for today. Appreciate you guys. Appreciate Mike for coming in, stopping by, and giving great insight as always. And love all you guys, and appreciate it. I'll see you guys later. I'm gone.